I don't think you're going to get a
I'm
question.
sorry. Yeah, we don't have time for a question.
Can't we add 10 minutes?
Well, I don't know. We're supposed to be at the restaurant 6:15. But if you answer in 1 minute. Okay, so we have a question. One question here.
Thank you for coming, Professor. My name is Paul Lee. I'm a visiting scholar in the Department of African-American Studies. I'd like to ask you about two gentlemen that you have an acquaintance with, but I've never seen you write about. The first one was a young constable in Kingston, Jamaica, when in November 1927, Marcus Garvey was deported from the United States there. This young constable had a gift for stenography. I'd like you to tell us who this was and give us an assessment of his work. The second gentleman I'd like to ask you about was an African-American leader who spoke at the London School of Economics on February 11, 1965. Among the young Caribbeans there were two young men from Trinidad, Tony Martin, who later became the premier Garvey scholar, and a young hustler named Michael De Freitas, who was in the process of recreating himself as a black power leader, known as Michael Abdul Malik and Michael X. And there was also a young lecturer there, you. Can you tell us who this visiting African-American leader was, and tell us what his effect was on their students? Thank you.
Well, the first person referred to was my father, who, when Marcus Garvey was deported by the FBI, I think tried to start the first mass urban revolution in America, to Jamaica, the colonial authorities went berserk. Because here's this madman, this maniac, it's going to come to a quiet little island. So they decided that the way to get him is on some form of treason, and to that they would certainly get it from his speeches. So they asked a young detective, who turned out to be the best shorthand person, because there are no tape recorders at the time, to tail him and write on all his speeches, and eventually they'll certainly be able to get him on subversion, on treason, and so on. My father did that, and yes, his shorthand was perfect, and so the best records of Garvey's speeches in the world are my father's account of these speeches. Well, that's not the end of the story. In the course of doing that, he became converted to Garvey. And the authorities never forgave him. They never promoted him. Eventually, he was quite radicalized, and he started a police federation, a union, which alienated him even more, and they kicked him out of the force. So that is the story of my dad, and I grew up with the philosophy and opinions of Marcus Garvey in my home, and I've heard his work. So there's far more of this in the book, The Paradox of Freedom. So what happened during you fast forward to my New Left days as a lecturer in the London School of Economics. There was Malcolm X. And yes, we were very, very moved by Malcolm X. And we all, I was then on the editorial board of New Left Review, and I remember the entire New Left Review group, Harry Anderson and others were there. What effect? Oh, he had a very powerful effect on all of us. And I was, then correcting the manuscript of my thesis for the first book, Sociology of Slavery, and I'd say he had a very radicalizing effect. He's a very, just such a charismatic person, and I'd say the effect was just extremely galvanizing, and it led me to make an important decision, which is to give up my position at the London School of Economics and return home, which I did a year later. And I've been radical ever since. Except
Those are the perfect famous last words. And, I wish we could continue this, another
Thank
2
you for
hours.
coming.
But thank you for coming. Thank you